It's no mystery that all brands have had to think and consider about what their concepts are moving forward into 2024. So keep watching this video till the end where I'm going to break down some of my predictions. What's going on, everybody? It's Spencer Line here. For those that don't know, I started a brand called Gully Garms in 2012, which was a vintage streetwear second-hand clothing store. I had to close it due to some issues and I reopened it last year. Decided to put more effort into giving value back to those that want to be resellers rather than just keep building a brand. My 2024 brand concept prediction. So what does this video mean? What I'm talking about here is the concept, the feel and the ethos that a brand represents and conveys to its audience, you the customers. The way that Nike has a brand concept is different to the way Victoria's Secret has a brand concept. There's a massive difference in the way that companies strategize their brand and how they portray their brand to their customers. And when I think about the concept, I put concept in the central to this point with spider diagrams off, where concept is aligned and associated to its ethos, its values, their mission statement and their process. The concept's the central theme of a brand. The ethos around it, the values, the principles and the mission statements that a brand has are all attachments to that concept. For the longest time, the e-commerce space has all been about product, and it's been a complete funneling of showing you products in a very cool way, whether it's really nice aesthetics, good prices, revaluation of whatever it is. For the longest time, brands have focused on a simplified system. Maximize the amount of products that you see, maximize the amount of money they make, get you to that product checkout as fast as possible. When I was running a brand in 2012 and through to 2014, vintage and secondhand itself was quite a new system, or quite a new thing that people weren't really aware of. Back in the day, it would have been as simple as just showing a product, tagging that item and getting people to check out without much reinforcement behind it. I think there's some exclusions to this actual theme where certain brands, maybe the Stussy's, the Stone Island, the Pradas, the higher end items, whether it's in clothing, in books, in electronics, I'm sure if you're a seller of something in the reselling community, there's probably a brand you know that doesn't need to change anything to just constantly get conversions. However, for the overall concept of a brand, what's had to change? Implementation of new processes to encourage customers to actually convert. So take what I've done, for example. I built a brand off of vintage and secondhand clothing, and then what happened is lots of other people started brands. Now, what makes me unique versus the other 100 people each week that start a brand? What do I do, or what can I do to distinguish myself against everybody else, to make myself look completely different? But everybody, all 100 new people that come onto the market, have that exact same process. With a lot more people desaturating a market, it does cause a disruption where initial point of how you would advertise that product, i.e. just posting photos as flat lays on Instagram, that completely got watered down by the fact that people had seen it, consumed it, and wanted something different. And it's the same way with TikTok, how one of the predictions of this year for TikTok content is that people are fed up of fast edit cuts and want to consume things with more value and more purpose. And with Gully, I integrated a family incorporated mindset and business into it. All of a sudden, I ran with that concept. Despite the fact that a lot of that felt to me at the time with the content I was making, I didn't directly connect with what I was putting out. Unfortunately, during that time, which is annoying, I had to do what I had to do to make sales and conversions. So that negates the brand concept that I was trying to build. And in 2024, everything's a lot different. If you think that you can just put a product on the internet and just take a photo of it and think that it's going to sell, you might be mistaken. And there are lots of complexities to this, whereas you could be somebody who has the ability and the funds to use marketing and to use paid ads. You might have a really popping TikTok where people just travel from, but that comes back to the concept. If you are somebody that has a TikTok page that uses that to funnel traffic to your Depop, what are you doing on your TikTok? Because you're probably creating a concept through the brand that you're representing yourself as. Now, not just because I've done this personally that I resonate with this, where I think people sit is this: in 2024, for brands have started to realize that customers are people. And when I say that, I don't mean disrespect to the years before where people were people but not seen as people. But before, everybody that saw your photo was a potential add to cart, was a potential conversion. The consumerism mindset of that was definitely perpetuated through the way that people used Instagram to advertise their brands, promote themselves anywhere. It was just product, volume, brands. That was all it was. Whereas now in 2024, there's definitely a presence and an urge where people want value. People want to invest invest in a brand that they know the core values of. People want to invest in a brand where they know who the people that run it are. People want to invest in a brand where they understand where you've came from in order to get to that conclusion that you're going to be a brand. Because the more you're relatable to another person who's a potential customer, the more they feel relaxed around your brand, the more they feel associated to your brand. And yeah, there is an argument that would say, well, not everybody is like that. And yes, they're not. Everybody is unique, and certain people just want to buy off faceless brands. Some people just want to go and buy flat lays. And if they're the market audience that you want to target, then there's a bit of a different direction with where to take it. When I look at this, I'm separating brands from just people who have very small stores. If you're a small store, you might not want to think about being a brand. However, I would say considering being a brand at any point is key for your success and your longevity with what you're doing. But in 2024, there's a big and forever present theme with giving value outside of the products you're selling. If you can give somebody that is seeing your store some understanding as to what it is, you know, whatever it might be. You could have a little caption in your Depop products that says all items are sustainably sourced, and since 2017, since 2022, all I've wanted to do is do this. You know, what would stop you by putting a little bit about you in every single item description on Depop or Etsy? I copy it and I paste it and I repeat it, and everybody knows a little bit more about you that they didn't even realize they were gonna learn about you, and therefore they like that. Because don't you ever feel like whenever somebody tells you a story, you start picturing that story? If I start telling you about that situation, you're picturing yourself right in the description, almost probably thinking about what you would say. So let's throw the question back. If you're a brand, if you're somebody who's watching this and you're a brand, what is your concept? What are you all about? What is 3 sentences that you can tell me, whether you want to comment it right now, who you are and what your story is, what got you into it? Was it family? Was it personal? Was it somebody that inspired you? Was it something completely obscure? Was you a farmer and you had an accident and then all of a sudden you had to be bedbound at home and you realized that you had loads of clothes to sell? That's a story, that's a concept, that's relatable to people who can invest in that. In 2024, my predictions for brand concept and where I think things will go is that I think there's going to be a battle for value amongst big companies. Because you got to remember, smaller the company, the more relatable you are to the average person. Nike is not relatable to most people because Nike is ran by Phil Knight. Granted, his story is very inspiring. Because the company is massive at this point and it's distributed everywhere worldwide, it's the #1 global brand. As much as we all love Nike, we can't say that we feel a connection to Phil Knight, who set up the brand through what he did that many years ago, because it's just too big. It's just too extensive at this point. Predictions with where I think it will be is that there's going to be a battle for value to be created. There's companies that are going to be telling you about all of the sustainable things that they're doing. They're going to be pushing a green movement. They're going to be pushing relatability through the trends that they see and seem fit through TikTok, through social media. So if there's a theme that's going on in social media, big brands will catch on to that and use it to probably manipulate some sort of concept around their brand. And I use the word manipulation like fairly, because manipulation in this respect is just how you use something to turn it into your favor. It's not necessarily to use something to use against someone else. Maybe manipulation is the wrong word for it. Let's just go with it. Other than a battle of value for different companies, there's a lot of people that are really excited by what AI can bring, what value that can add. There will be lots of companies that will be showing you everything they're doing to integrate AI into their brand. The battle of the value, the relatability through the trends, approach to feel like a real person through a big brand. The authenticity of the realness, and I use this with realness with inverted commas, authenticity of the realness. So the way that brands that are outreached and unable to feel connected to an individual person are definitely going to use more systems and more approaches to feel connected to people. For big brands to feel like small brands, even though they're big brands. It's going to be like a paradox of an inverted nature, where big brands want to feel like small brands, but they're big brands. Do you see what I mean? So that's my kind of take on where I think some predictions are. Feel free to drop a comment on what you think I've missed. I'm sure there's so many predictions that there could be, and they're just the first 3 that were generating and rolling around in my mind. So feel free to drop any of the ones that you've got. And also, subscribe button, other video button. Feel free to watch, comment, like, and subscribe. All that stuff helps the algorithm. Let YouTube know that I am a real person, I do have good intentions, and I want to give people value for nothing on YouTube. But if you do want to join the Patreon, 2 videos a month and a webinar, 1 60-minute Join the Patreon, the link is down below. It's £4.50. Big up, guys. As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, stay original, do you, and be happy doing that, yeah? Trust the process, my G's. Big up.